Have you ever noticed that some of the hardest lessons in the Christian life are not doctrinal but relational? Matthew chapters 18, 19, and 20 form a distinct section in the Gospel of Matthew, and they deal with one central issue: the relationships among the kingdom people. Up to this point, Matthew has shown us the king's decree, the constitution of the kingdom in chapters 5 through 7. He has shown us the king's ministry. He has revealed the mystery of the kingdom in chapter 13. And in chapter 16 and 17, we've seen the pathway to glory, followed by very practical tests after the transfiguration. Now, beginning in chapter 18, the focus shifts. The question is no longer, what is the kingdom? The question becomes, how do kingdom people live together? This section is not merely doctrinal like the Sermon on the Mount, and it is not prophetic like the parables of the kingdom. It is intensely practical. It tells us how to relate to one another if we are truly living in the kingdom of the heavens. Matthew 18 shows us how to be in the kingdom. Jesus begins with a shocking answer to the disciples' question, who then is the greatest in the kingdom of the heavens? He places a little child in their midst and says that unless we turn and become like little children, we cannot even enter the kingdom. This chapter reveals several critical principles. We must become humble like little children. We must not stumble others. We must not despise even the smallest believer. We must learn to hear the church, and we must forgive our brother to the uttermost. All of this shows us that entering and living in the kingdom is not about spiritual rank. It's about humility, care for others, and forgiveness. A corporate kingdom, not an individual one. One crucial thing we must see is that the kingdom is not individual, it is corporate, and wherever people are together, problems will arise. This is why relationships are so central in Matthew 18 through 20. Some people wish they could live the Christian life alone. Just prayer, Bible reading, and waiting for the Lord's return. But God has predestinated us to be together. Church life is unavoidable. And once we're together, 5 major problems immediately surface. The first issue is pride. If we want proper relationships in the kingdom, pride must be dealt with. And here's the uncomfortable truth: there is no such thing as a naturally humble person. Every fallen human being is proud. We may think someone is humble until life puts pressure on them. Pride hides very well until it is exposed through relationships. This is why Jesus begins with a child. A child has no position to defend, no reputation to maintain, no throne to protect. In the kingdom, greatness begins with humility. The second major issue is our inability to forgive. Matthew 18 not only say we should forgive, it says we must forgive to the uttermost. But forgiveness is one of the most difficult things for fallen human beings. Why? Because true forgiveness means forgetting. When God forgives, He forgets. Hebrews 10:17 says that God will remember our sins no more. He treats us as if we have never sinned, but we often say, "I forgive," while secretly keeping a record. Sometimes we even say, "I forgive them, but let me tell you what they did." That's not forgiveness. The reason why forgiveness is so hard is not mainly the offense. It is what lies within us. The root of unforgiveness is dispositional anger. Even the nicest person has it. If you strike a chair, the chair isn't offended, but strike a person, and something rises up inside. That reaction reveals the anger hidden in the disposition. This is why offenses linger, especially in close relationships like marriage. Complaints and offenses accumulate. Forgiveness becomes difficult. And without the Lord's grace, we would remember offenses forever. This is why the kingdom requires something beyond natural goodness. It requires divine life. The third problem, lust. In chapter 19, the Lord touches the issue of lust. Lust was already addressed in the constitution of the kingdom and hinted at in the parables of chapter 13. Here, it becomes practical again, especially in the context of marriage and divorce. Many broken relationships are rooted in unchecked lust. Jesus shows that apart from God's grace, no one can overcome this issue. Lust damages relationships and undermines the kingdom life. The fourth problem, Riches. Jesus says it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter the kingdom. Riches compete with God for our heart. They promise security, but quietly rule us. Riches are not evil, but they are dangerous. They can choke the kingdom life, just as the thorns choked the seed in the parable of the sower. The fifth problem: ambition. Finally, chapter 20 exposes ambition. Zebedee's wife asks that her two sons sit at the Lord's right and left in the kingdom. Jesus responds, "You do not know what you are asking." Ambition for position has always been a problem in the kingdom, whether in the world or in the church. When recognition is given to others, offense rises. When positions are not granted, criticism follows. But in the kingdom, greatness is measured by serving, not by ruling. These 3 chapters expose 5 inner problems: pride, dispositional anger, lust, riches, ambition. These are not external enemies, they are scorpions within us, and they cannot be dealt with by self-effort or discipline alone. We need what could be called divine pest control: the cross, the Lord's life, and the transforming work of grace. Matthew intentionally places these accounts together to expose what truly hinders kingdom relationships. If we take these chapters seriously, we will be humbled but also helped. Because the kingdom is not about perfection, it's about transformation. And it's about learning how to live together under the reign of the King.